I don't want to say that I'm surprised, but I am processing. Because life is like, I've realized that reality is stranger than any fucking fiction, anything we could imagine. The longer I live, the more I recognize that is true. And something is like this is all spiritual. We're embroiled in spiritual warfare. I say that all the time because it's true, and the reason that I am harping on it is because it's revving up. We're at a crescendo, and shit's getting real, okay? And when you surrender yourself to God, when you surrender yourself, period, you can surrender yourself to darkness as well. And when you are a person who has surrendered and you recognize that we actually are vessels for spirit, and we can invite in the Holy Spirit, the love of God, our Creator, or we can invite in the light that brings darkness, Lucifer, Satan. These are the two lights that are warring over this plane, this existence. Currently, Lucifer is in charge of this world. But God's coming back for his people. And my life, everyone's life, is a living testament to the fact that this is spiritual. But it's more overt in some people's lives. I believe to the degree to which you have become aware that this is spiritual and that you have surrendered to that fact is the degree to which your life will be more overtly, obviously spiritual, in that, like, it becomes a war that you are consciously fighting. We're all fighting it. Your depression, your anxiety, your addictions, all of these things are spiritual. It's a tug of war for your soul. And I woke up this morning. So I've been, since I surrendered my life, since I gave my life to God, since Jesus Christ gave me a new lease on life and pulled me out of the pits of hell. I was living in a state of purgatory and then also in a hellish state. I had a darkness, an entity. I had a possession. Okay, I had invited darkness into my life as a way to try to heal myself. I was desperately trying to heal my wounds. And in that desperation, I became involved in the occult. Not even like consciously. I started dabbling in like the law of attraction, manifestation. I understood that our thoughts were powerful, and they are, but I started using that knowledge as a way to have my own will be done, and that is what the occult is. That's what witchcraft is. It's using rituals, using spells, using symbols, using your mind and your life energy to have your own will be done, and then when you do that, you invite in and work with dark spirits. Because only dark spirits are concerned. And the thing about it is, like, when you open yourself up to other spirits to have your own will be done, your own will, it becomes that of Satan's. So our own will is never really being done, because it requires us to have a sacrifice and an allegiance to one spirit or another, one type of energy or another. And we can either surrender to God and let God's will be done and say, God, use me to have your will be done. Or we can say, no, I won't do what Lucifer did and say, I want my own will to be done. And that requires us, if we want that to be done, to make a deal with the devil. And so the devil will allow us to have what we want for a while, but then the devil attaches strings. And the devil is a liar. He doesn't tell you that part. He doesn't tell you that he's going to give you what you want and you're going to enjoy it for a brief while, and then he's going to come calling for your soul. And that's what happened to me. And I called out in my deepest moment of despair, and I surrendered my life to God, Jesus Christ, Save me. And I told God, I said, please have my life. Let my will be yours. Let my desires be yours. Please use me to help heal other people and to help heal the earth. And God took me seriously, and God takes us all seriously. And so does the devil. They're always listening. Okay? They're always listening. Spirits, energies. What are you inviting in? What are you asking for? Be careful. So now I live my life for God. I am a totally surrendered person. I walk in faith. I have been led since that moment on November 5th, 2023. I have been led into 5 different situations now where people are taking advantage of other people. Like, that's happening everywhere, but what I'm talking about is in a spiritual context. I'm talking about people who you could describe as a sort of cult leader. And I've called them out, and I've helped people get out of these situations. I've shined light on 6 situations. That's why God is sending me there. I'm not looking for these situations. I listen each day. I get up, I pray, I meditate. I ask for, God, let your will be mine. Tell me where to go. And then I go where I'm sold. I listen, I obey. That's how I ended up in a fucking satanic temple in Arizona, okay? Now, let me tell you, there's something bad happening there, and I know it. God has given me discernment. Let me tell you what happened, and what I'm reeling with right now. What I'm dealing with is that now I believe everyone has a right to their own religious beliefs. That's not the issue I'm taking. There's a child out there, okay? Now, you can watch my other videos that goes more into depth about what it is these people believe, what it is that I saw. But based on what I witnessed, I called the police. Because I'm concerned that there is something happening with the one child that's out there. He's approximately 4 years old. Now, these people have a temple to Baal. Baal requires child abuse, child sacrifice. There is an altar in this temple to Baal. Hanging, among other things, hanging above this altar is a birth certificate. A live birth certificate. And I have it on video. I have photos of it. But I was moving quickly, and so it's blurry, it's grainy. I can't make out the names on there. I do not know the name of the child on the birth certificate. I don't know the date. I'm trying to figure this out. Here's what happened. I called the police. I told them, I said, I need to make a report, an anonymous report. I am concerned about child abuse on this farm that I was on. They said, we need your name. I said, no, you will not be getting my name. I'm allowed to make an anonymous report for my own protection. They said, okay, well, what is the address of the place? I gave them the name of the farm. They said, we're going to have to file an official report before we can send anyone out there. We're going to have to get details about what it is that you saw, why you're concerned. We're busy right now. We're going to have to call you back. It's going to be several hours. I said, okay. They have none of my information. I haven't told them anything other than the name of the place. No details. Nothing. Just the name of the place and that I'm concerned. Now, the whole way that I ended up in this location is because my cousin, who lives in Las Vegas, knows these people. She told me she's known them for 7 years. And that she has been doing Bible study with them for the last 2 years via Zoom. She has never met these people in person. She visited this farm. This is what she told me. This is the story. She visited this farm 7 years ago when they bought the property. But at the time, these people that own the land were not there. There were other people, like volunteers, people helping on the property that were there, and she claimed she went to tour the property. That's all I know about the situation. Even that in of itself sounds odd to me, that you would go to this farm of your friends, but they're not even there, and you've never actually met them in person, and you still haven't 7 years later. I don't know what all that's about. Okay, but that's all I know is she claims she went to this property 7 years ago. the people that own it, the people that she's currently doing Bible study with, the people that she sent me to work with, they weren't there at the time, and she's never met them. She also told me, this is my cousin now. At that time, my cousin was involved in the occult. She was a high priestess in the pagan religion. The pagan religion, she told me, they worked with demons. She had a demonologist in her coven. And that these people who owned this farm were also, at the time that she came to know them, involved in the occult, is what she told me. And she said, we've stayed and she didn't tell me how they met. She didn't tell me if they met around the occult. I'm thinking, this is the circle she's running in, so that must be why they met. Okay, that's the people she's hanging out with, are people who are involved in paganism. But she didn't tell me any of that. She just very peripherally or very vaguely said she's known these people for 7 years, and that she does know that they once were involved in the occult, but in the last 2 years they've all came out of the occult. She also told me these people were polyamorous. Okay, the people that own this farm. She says, I know they're involved in the occult. I know they were polyamorous. That's something we have in common. We've all come to Christ in the last 2 years. This is what my cousin is telling me. So I knew that when I went out there. That's all I knew, that these people have been delivered to Christ. Now, I get out there. I'm led into this fucking temple. I see a fucking birth certificate of a live birth. On the door of the temple, it says, all hail the royal family, all hail Jesus. Well, their 4-year-old child is named Jesus. Okay? That's fucking weird. Let's face it, that's a weird name to give your kid. Like, that's a lot of pressure to be walking around with that name. Okay, so it says this on the door. Then there's a live birth certificate above this fucking altar to this demon that requires child sacrifice. Like, it's a real birth certificate. I was led in there by the leader of this cult. He gave me a tour, so I wasn't recording it at the time. I had to sneak back in to record this, okay? So, I knew other, like, things had been said to this kid in front of me while I was there. They threatened to tie him to a tree and leave him there overnight. A 4-year-old. They threatened to put him in a cage with rabbits and make him sleep in the rabbit cage with poop. This kid is docile, he's shy, he's sweet. They were all like laughing about this, like chiming in, everyone in the community. So they're doing this in front of me. So that made me believe this is probably like a favorite pastime of theirs, is like ganging up on this 4-year-old child and making him the scapegoat. Jesus was a scapegoat. Like, okay, that's weird. So please watch the video about all the details of this place. Like, and there's a video of the temple, okay? Now, all of these things are concerning me. So I'd call the police. They said, we're going to call you back so you can file an official report. They have no information for me. I tell my cousin this. I let her know everything that was going on, because she told me that these are her friends. And I said, you need to know, okay, like before I left the fucking farm, like, I took the video of the temple. I contacted my cousin. I said, I'm sorry this is all over the place. I think you guys can probably keep up though. I snuck back in the temple. I recorded it. I sent my cousin the video. I said, what is going on here? How do you really know these people? Like, are you aware of this? She acted like, oh my God, I had no idea. Like, this is insane. How do I know these people for 7 years? And I didn't. And I'm thinking the same thing. Like, yeah, why did you send me here? How do you not know this? Like, you told me you knew they were involved with the occult, and now you're acting surprised that this is here. Like, I don't know. I didn't at first think, like, oh, she's lying to me. I just thought, is she fucking slow? Like, I don't know, because my cousin just came back into my life after, like, I haven't seen her since we were children, since we were like 10 years old, okay? And now I'm 41. So, literally 30 years. I don't know this person, okay? I saw her once when I was like 20. But it was a brief encounter. So, I don't know how honest she is, and I'm starting to believe that maybe she knows more than was leading on, okay? So, I tell her, I give her this information. I say, I'm going to stay a few more days because I feel like God sent me here to look out for this kid. Like, if it was just these adults, I don't give a shit what they got weird shit going on. But there's something about this kid. Why is there a birth certificate here? Like, why are they calling this kid Jesus? They're worshiping this thing that requires child sacrifice. They're like picking on this kid in front of me. Like, I got to look out for this kid. So I stick around a little bit longer simply for the kid. But then the leader guy sits me down in their fucking kitchen. He's got a fucking knife. He's pointing at this fucking painting he made that he claims is a download he got from God. This dude is trying to indoctrinate me into their belief system. He basically holds me hostage. Like, that's how I felt. Like, I felt like I couldn't leave. For like 2 hours preaching to me about this fucking thing that has letters and numbers and geometric symbols on it. Tells me the whole story about how he was shaking his fist at God, telling God that he was going to commit suicide if God didn't give him proof of God's existence, and that God struck him in the back of the head with lightning. He died. He went to hell. He went to heaven. He was resurrected, and when he was resurrected, God gave him this download that I was looking at with this fucking painting. Okay, and then it's the theory. It's his theory of everything. It's his contribution to humanity, and that they all have to keep this secret because if anybody finds out about this shit, he's going to be murdered. This is what this guy's telling me, y'all. It's crazy. Okay, so I'm just listening. I'm cool as a cucumber. I'm just taking this information in. I can't believe it's real. I'm thinking any minute someone's going to walk out with a fucking camera and say you're on candid camera because it was this fucking bizarre. Okay, this guy is stereotypical nutbag cult leader. So his name is Elijah. For 2 hours he goes on and talks to me about Christ and how people who believe in Christ consciousness are blasphemers. This is after he showed me a fucking temples of Baphomet. Now he's making no mention of his temples of Baphomet as he's talking to me about Christ. And how God has made him special amongst men and given him the light of God, striking him in the back of the head with lightning. And goes on, and people who believe in Christ consciousness are blasphemers, and all blasphemers should die. And I said, well, if you're going to take it that far, everybody would probably have to die, because at some point I'm pretty sure everyone has blasphemed. And he laughed maniacally and said, oh, that's the best thing I've ever heard. I like that idea. I can get on board with that. Then he tells me they have all these goats. Okay, and now Baphomet is a fucking goat-headed demon. They have all these goats out there. He tells me, oh, the people who own this farm, like the head family, they sold my favorite goat. You know what that makes me want to do? It makes me want to take a gun and shoot every fucking goat right between the eyes and blow their faces off. He tells me this, okay? As he's holding a knife pointing at this fucking sign, speaking to me about how everyone who's ever blasphemed should die and be murdered. So I'm like, okay, I'm out tomorrow. Like, this guy is deranged. So I get up the next morning and I leave and I say, I'm going to have to just call the police. That's how I'm going to have to look out for this kid. I'm going to have to let them know I'm concerned. So I go back to Vegas. It's 2 hours away to my cousin's. She's like sending me all these fucking videos on YouTube about like these people, like the podcast they were on talking about their property, telling me now like, are what they're talking about in this video, does it line up with what you witnessed or what you saw at the farm? And I told her, I said, look, I don't know. I said, maybe your mind is blown and you're trying to make sense of all this, but like, I don't need to figure anything out. There's nothing to figure out. Like, I know what I saw. I know it made me uncomfortable. I know I have a right to leave and set a boundary, and I know I have an obligation to let the police know that I'm concerned about this child. Like, I don't need to watch a bunch of fucking videos and like try to be convinced that what I saw I didn't see, because that was the flavor of what she was doing. I was like, maybe we misunderstood, maybe you misunderstood. Girl, look, I just showed you a fucking video of a fucking temple with 666 and demon heads and goat heads and fucking an altar and a live birth certificate, and watch the fucking video. She already saw it. Like, it's bizarre to me that she's not just like saying, yeah, that was fucking weird, I'm glad you left. So at this point I'm feeling like she's making me kind of defend myself or like try to question what I saw. So I basically kindly tell her, like, I understand that you're trying to figure this out. I've already figured it out. I'm not watching videos, so please respect that. I'm done with this. Like, I don't want to talk about it anymore. Well, I had left a very nice note when I left. I said, thank you for your hospitality. We have different spiritual beliefs. I don't believe in false prophets. I don't follow false prophets. I have to leave now because I'm not going to blaspheme my God. Right? Like, and I said, thank you. It was a very nice letter. They don't contact me at all. They're like contacting my cousin in a panic. Like, saying like, your cousin's crazy, like we wouldn't have invited her. They're attacking my cousin, saying, why did you send this person here? Like, there's obviously, like, she's crazy, something's wrong with her, like she's putting our family in danger. Okay, they're not taking any responsibility. They tell her that yes, we did show her it's called a lounge, it's not a temple. We took her into our Peacock temple, and we took her in there because she was wearing a shirt that had certain symbols on it that made Elijah believe that she would be comfortable with what was in there. And like, she obviously misunderstood what this place is. This place is not a temple where we worship Baal. It's a temple where we left all of the things from our past in there. Okay, this is like what they said, these are our trophies from our past that we left behind. No, that's not right. So this guy told me that this is their adult lounge, and this is where I would go if I wanted to do cocaine, and that's where they have their adult parties. Adult meaning like probably sex parties are happening in there. Cocaine, adult party, the place is filled with pornographic images and photography. And Baphomet is into pedophilia and bisexuality and transgenderism, and there's a whole flavor of that happening in there. So they're like trying to talk my cousin out of like, oh, she misunderstood what she saw. This is like all the things we left behind. Then they tell my cousin like, we're open to talking to her, but only if she's serious about actually hearing the truth of what is going on. I said, yeah, so they're saying that they're only going to talk to me if I'm willing to like accept their gaslighty version of what I saw and what happened. I know what happened. I know what I saw, and I don't give a shit. They can worship Satan all they want. I'm still going to tell the police that I'm concerned about their fucking child. Okay, so I tell my cousin this. Then I contact them, and I send the girl a message. I said, listen, I'm not sure why it is that you are communicating to my cousin instead of me directly. Like, I'm getting all these messages from my cousin that you want to speak to me. I said, so you should just reach out to me directly. And then again I said, I do not care what your religious beliefs are. You have a right to your religious freedom. I do not agree with what you believe in. I don't feel the same way. That's why I left. And then I sent her a passage from the Bible that talks about the false prophet Elijah, and how in the Bible, the real Elijah, who was a miracle worker, was given the divine light of God to lead people away from Baal in the desert. These people were living under the king Ahab. I said, this is what I saw. This leads me to believe that this person is trying to act out the story of Elijah in the Bible, and that he's a false prophet. This is what I tell her in the text message. And I said, and you guys have statues to fucking Moby Dick out there, and Moby Dick, the main character, is Ahab. And I said, I believe that that's a reference to King Ahab in the story of Elijah. I see it all. Like, it's right in front of everyone's face. And I said, I don't know if you're not seeing it, and this guy put this out there, and it like, to put it right in your face, and he's like laughing at you behind your back. I don't know, but I see it. And that's why I left. This is what I tell her, okay? So then I get a text message from her husband that's like a fucking novel. Threatening me, telling me that I'm harassing his wife. Because I like reached out to her directly instead of talking to my cousin, okay? That I'm harassing his wife, and that they never would have invited me to their property if they knew that I was on antipsychotic medication and or coming off of antipsychotic medication. None of that's true. I think what happened is they went on my YouTube channel, and they saw that my story about like my experience in the past with pharmaceutical drugs, and how I got put in a mental institution because of pharmaceutical drugs that made me lose my mind briefly. I think they saw all that, and they were trying to leverage it as a way to threaten me, to say like, we know you're crazy, And then he said, we have you on camera. He said, I have cameras all over my property, and we have you on camera trespassing into our lounge uninvited, which they do probably have cameras. And I responded to him. I said, listen, don't ever contact me again, don't ever threaten me again, because I will slap a lawsuit on your ass so quickly that it'll make your head spin. Because I was led into that temple. That's also on camera. And if you think you're gonna telling me that you're gonna submit this one piece of footage to the fucking cops where I went in there by myself versus leaving out the one where I was first led in there by your fucking leader who was trying to indoctrinate me, well, I have that on camera. I have that footage. So go ahead and say whatever you want, because I have a lot of footage and I have a lot of information, and we both know that you guys don't want that shit getting out. And then what you're doing right now is you're threatening me because you actually have something to hide. Because if what I'm saying, there's no concern, there's nothing to hide, like, you wouldn't be giving me any energy, you wouldn't be threatening me. So I know that. So I said, now I'm going to be blocking you now, never contact me again. I'm done with you people. Now, my cousin contacts me, and she's like, all in a like, what are you, what did she say? Are you harassing them? Like, now she's starting to, like, come at me, like, kind of defending them and saying I'm doing something wrong by being direct with these people. So then I start getting upset. And I'm like, look, this is my business. I'm not sure what's going on here, but, like, you shouldn't even be involved in this. Like, I'm sorry you got put in the middle, but you need to remove yourself from the situation now. Because this is my business, and I know what's going on. I'm not harassing anybody. I'm speaking my truth. And, okay. Well, they said that, the police came out there. So here's what happened. I called the police. I did call the police. And I said, I said to the police, which maybe I already said this in the beginning of the video. I know it's getting long. I want to make an anonymous report. They told me, we're going to have to call you back. Okay. They got the name of the place, the name of the farm, that's it. Not my name, nothing else. They said they would not be going out there until an official report was filed, and they would call me back to do that. The next day, I get a message from my cousin saying, the police went out to the farm to check on the child. Nothing was found. The people called me, and they said, hey, your cousin called the cops on us and made an anonymous report. We told the cops that you know where your cousin lives. So the cops are going to be calling you, and they're going to be asking for her name, her phone number, and her address so they can send her a citation for making a false child abuse claim. She said, so I just wanted to let you know, this is my cousin saying this, I just wanted to let you know that happened, and that when the cops call me, I will be providing all of your information, because I am not putting my family in danger because of your situation. Bitch throwing me under the bus like lickety split. Well, first off, we all know that ain't the way the law works. And this is what I tell her. I said, listen, I made an anonymous report, and it wasn't even official. Okay? So my name is not on anything. There's no proof of anything. And I have a legal right to make an anonymous report. I said, that's not what police do. Like, any information they got would not be a legal ground to give me a citation, because there's no proof. You could say anybody's name and give any address. And I said, and also, I don't have an address. I don't live anywhere. I said, do not give my information to the police. She again tells me, oh, I will be giving my father's address to the police because I know that's where you're going next. Because I was going to go help her on her property that she bought in Texas next to her father's property. I said, okay, like, you're telling me that you're throwing me under the bus to save your own ass, which, P.S., nothing's going to happen to you because it's not even legal for the cops to question you and try to get information from you about an anonymous police report. So you're not in danger at all. So something's going on here. Like, either you're retarded or a coward, or you're working with these people to try to dissuade me from actually making an official report about what I saw. Those are the only options. Like, you're an idiot and a coward, or you're lying to me and you're like siding with these people and you're trying to lead me astray. either way, you're not a person I can trust. You're not a person that I'm ever going to put myself around again. So, we're done, sister. I'm out. I tell her that. She's blocked. We're done. She is not a safe person. So, I wake up this morning and I have this epiphany of like, okay, I'm not scared. I didn't do anything wrong. I know that I'm allowed to make an anonymous report. I know that's not how the law works. So obviously, either these people lied to her to try to get my information from her, or they're like, and she's a dumb person, and they've like scared her into submitting, or she's on their side, right? I know this, but regardless, like, something is obviously happening. There is something going on, because they're taking all these efforts and measures to try to scare me and lead me astray from like following up further with the police and making like a detailed report. So I call the police again this morning and I tell them exactly what happened, and they said, oh no, there's no name on file for your call. Like, yes, we did send a police officer out there, but we still don't know who you are. We don't know your name. And she said, that's not how things would work. Like, we wouldn't be trying to get your information. Like, that's just not how we do things. So these people are lying, and my cousin might be lying as well. I don't know. But so I said, listen, I need to file an official report. I said, did someone actually go out there? She said, yeah, we did send a cop out there. I said, well, I don't understand why you would do that, because I didn't give you any specific information. How the fuck could you possibly do a thorough investigation when you don't even know specifically what it is that I'm concerned about or what I saw? Like, how can you determine there's no child abuse happening? I didn't tell them about the temple. I didn't tell them about the fucking birth certificate. I didn't tell them anything except for the name of the fucking place. So I said, someone needs to call me back, and I need to talk at length with someone to tell them exactly what I fucking saw. So I'm waiting on a phone call. The lady was very nice, okay? So I am going to be telling details about what happened, because I'm concerned about this fucking birth certificate. And now let me tell you something that happened also that's fucking weird, and to me this is like evidence that it is all spiritual and I was led there, and that nothing's an accident, because this is just too fucking coincidental and fucking weird. Okay, it's not a coincidence. This is how God speaks to us. So the morning after I saw this fucking birth certificate, the morning after I was led into this fucking satanic cult where there was an altar to a god who requires child sacrifice, I had gone into the fucking bathhouse. Like, my tiny house didn't have a bathroom. There was a main house, bathhouse. I went in there. I was coming out. It's 10 a.m. I never really saw anyone out there until dark, because it's so hot. People stayed indoors. So I wasn't expecting to see anyone. I turned the corner to walk into my tiny house. At the same time, this Elijah guy, the cult leader, is like turning the corner. We almost run into each other. He says to me, can I ask you a favor? And at the very moment he says, can I ask you a favor? Now this is gross. I don't care. Whatever. This is biology. Now this has never, ever, ever happened to me in my entire fucking life, and I'm 41. Never happened to me. The moment he says, can I ask you a favor? The lining of my uterus, I'm wearing shorts, falls out of me. I have super quick reaction time. I don't even know what's going. I don't know what's happened. I just catch it, okay? I catch it with my hand, my left hand. I'm holding this thing in my hand. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? He says to me, I put a casserole in the oven for the forced labor. The forced labor, he says, referring to a Mexican crew that had come out there to do some work, which he had bragged about how they like barely have to pay them anything. He was bragging about that at dinner, making fun of them. So he says, can you please take the casserole out of the oven in 20 minutes for the forced labor? I said, oh yeah, no problem. He says, thank you. He walks away. I open my hand. There is a fucking blood clot in my hand, the size of a fucking, like, this big. Okay, it's huge. Like, it's huge. It's huge. Blood clot. You tell me that's a fucking coincidence. You tell me there's no fucking spiritual meaning there. You tell me that that's not God saying, like, hey, pay attention to that fucking birth certificate. Pay attention to that fucking temple, to that demon that requires child sacrifice. Pay attention to that 4-year-old kid that you just heard them making threats to about being tied to a tree, who they named Jesus, who's a fucking scapegoat. Life is fucking weirder than we can imagine. It's all spiritual warfare. And I'm waiting for a fucking call from the Mohave Sheriff's Department so I can make a fucking official report.